Good morning, everybody. It is Dulcimer back for another vlog. I can't believe that it's already the end of July. The summer is going so quickly, and before we know it, it's going to be fall. But as long as it is summer still, I have a little bit more time than I usually do, and I'm trying really, really hard to get as much dulcimer practice in as I possibly can. Depending on the reference source that you go to, the recommended amount of practice time that you should be doing each day varies. I've seen everything from half an hour to 2 hours a day. Personally, I aim for an hour a day. I kind of just sit down throughout the day, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, until I've hit about an hour. Usually I go further than an hour, and that's great, but there are some days that I don't quite hit that hour mark, and that's okay too. Today is a special practice day though. Instead of my usual here and there practicing like I normally do, I have put the entire day aside for practicing. This is gonna be great because instead of sitting down and doing a quick warm-up before playing 1 or 2 songs and then going off to do some other chore or something else I need to get done during the day, I'm gonna be able to really focus on a wide range of music and skills I need to practice. Anyone who plays an instrument knows that there is effective practicing and then there's ineffective practicing. 5 minutes of practicing where your mind is totally focused on the task at hand is going to bring you a lot further than an hour of practice where your mind is kind of wandering and you're only half there. To make sure that I am not totally wasting my day on that ineffective practicing, I have come up with 3 goals for the day and the practice schedule to help me meet them. First, I want to spend some time diversifying my warm-up. Next, I want to polish up some of the songs I've been practicing recently and get them ready to record. And third, I want to finish my first run-through of a new song I'm learning. Onto my schedule. As you can see, it starts at 9 a.m., which is a little earlier than I tend to start playing, but it's a weekday, so my neighbor below me should be at work by then, and I shouldn't be bothering anyone, so I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm also taking breaks throughout the day to make sure that I can focus the best of my abilities while I'm practicing. You'll also notice that I have a lesson with my teacher today scheduled, so that worked out really well that's falling on a practice day. I've cut my schedule into 10 to 30 minute parts, depending on how much time I think I need to spend on a specific piece of music. Now, with that said, I'm really not holding myself that strictly to those guidelines. If I want to spend more time on a piece, I'm going to, and if I feel like I've spent enough time practicing a particular piece of music, I'm going to move on. After all, the point of the day is to make as much as I can out of a productive day of practicing and hopefully see some progress by the end of the day. It's actually about 9 a.m. right now. So I am going to go over to the dulcimer and we're going to get started, and wish me luck. Alright, so the time is just after 9:20 now, so I am wrapping up my warm-up. Like I said, my first goal today is to expand my warm-up repertoire so that I'm getting more out of it. To do that, I am using Karen Alley's book, Beyond Melodies. There's a bunch of really good intermediate songs in here that I've been working with, but she also includes a really good exercise to help you practice identifying notes on your instrument and also just get used to the different chord makeups that are useful while you're playing. Full disclosure, it is the end of July. I live in an apartment without central air conditioning, so it's getting really hot in here. I'm gonna do my best to stay focused throughout the day, but it is going to be kind of tough. With my warm-up out of the way, I'm moving on to the first song that I want to practice today, which is Shebang Shamor. I have already recorded a version of this tune, but this is a new arrangement, actually out of the Karen Alley book that I was just showing you. And it sounds really nice, and it's a little bit more complex than the last one I did, and I'm excited to share. If you have been following me on Instagram, you'll actually see a preview of it. The first part of the song I put up the other day. I've pretty much got it, but I really want to be able to play through it smoothly and confidently before I record it for YouTube. I have put aside 20 minutes to practice this today. Hopefully that'll be enough to really get it ready for recording. All right, so it is 20 minutes later, and according to my schedule, I should be finished with Shebang Shamor now. However, there's still a few bumpy spots that I want to keep working on, so I'm going to keep working, and it might be that I need to push back my next song a little bit, maybe even till after my break, but we'll make it work because, like I said, today is all about using the time I'm giving myself to my best advantage, and I want to get as much out of the day as possible. So back to work on Shebang Shamor, and we'll move on when we're ready. It is about 9:55 now. I'm still not super happy with Shebang Shamor. I was really hoping to say that it was done and ready to be recorded by today, but it's not quite there. That is okay. I do feel like I am ready to move on though and just give myself something else to think about. The next song that I have on my list for today is my new song, and it is Greensleeves. Today's original goal was to learn the second half of the song and be able to put it all together so that I could practice it as a whole thing. However, looking at the time and wanting to stay more or less on today's schedule, not perfectly obviously, but somewhat on schedule, I am going to readjust my second goal from saying that I have the whole thing down to just practicing what I already have memorized and getting a little bit better at that. It is 11 o'clock right now, which means that I am back from my break. It was a very productive break. I fed my sourdough starter, I cleaned up my house a little bit, and I got a little bit of reading done. So now I'm ready to get back. The next piece on my agenda is actually a little bit of Christmas practice. It's never too early to be ready for Christmas. So I have given myself 20 minutes to practice two pieces this time because both of the pieces that I'm about to practice I'm feeling really comfortable with already, and I just want to make sure that I keep them up and ready to go for the Christmas season when it gets there. I have finished with my Christmas music, and I am moving on to one of the songs that I have been working on with my teacher. This song is Star of the County Down. Just like Shebang Shamor, this is a song that I have recorded and put on YouTube before, but I have from my teacher a new, more complex arrangement, which I'm working on now. And especially seeing as I have a lesson today, I want to make sure that this is in tip-top shape so that I can show it off to my teacher later. So here we go. Star of the County Down is in good enough shape as it is right now that I spent about 5 minutes on it, and I feel like I'm ready to move on. So instead of working on the current arrangement of Star of the County Down that my teacher has given me, I'm actually going to move on to the slightly more complicated, quote-unquote, final rendition of this version of the song. I haven't started playing it yet, but I just want to go over it and listen to it and see if I have any questions for my teacher when I have my lesson later today. I just got back from lunch and it's time to get back to practicing. I've got some more songs that I want to prep before I have my lesson at 3. And then after I do that, I want to give myself just a quick little breather before I get into my lesson. I will be warming up again just to give myself a little bit of breathing time to get back into the groove of Dulcimer. And then we will talk some more. I am actually moving back to Greensleeves now, which is my new song. I have about a half an hour scheduled off for it right now. So I think what I may do is after I've gone through the part that I'm feeling comfortable with, I might start learning the next part. I don't know how much I'm going to get through today in a half an hour, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so Greensleeves is done for the day. I did end up going a little bit further with the song, but I didn't get very far because I realized that I had been playing a wrong note. I retaught myself that, and I learned about one more bar, not far. But that's okay because any progress is good progress, and so we're going to move on. I have 2 songs that I want to practice in the time before I start getting ready for my lesson. The first song, according to my schedule, is The Water is Wide, and the second song is Captain O'Kane. However, looking at that schedule and thinking about it now, I think I'm going to actually flip them because Captain O'Kane is a song that I'm at like 90% confidence at, and I've only slotted myself like 10 minutes for it just to, keep polishing. But The Water is Wide is the third song that I'm really working on with my teacher right now. So I want to get that practice as close to the lesson as I can and give it as much time as I can to really make it sound nice and pretty and ready. It's just before 2:30, so I'm ready to take my break and get ready for my lesson. I chose, instead of just working on The Water is Wide during that half an hour, to do a little bit more with Start the County Down and Loch Lomond, just to make sure that they are as good as I can make them before my lesson. I will probably sit down and play for about 5 minutes before my lesson starts too, just to make sure that everything's sounding good. And that's about it for now. My lesson is over. It's about 3:45 now. The lesson went a little bit long, but that's okay, and it often does. We talk about some great stuff, and we get a lot done. And now it's time for me to get back to my own practice. Seeing as it's 3:45, that's kind of pushed into some of the other scheduling things that I wanted to get done. But that's okay. I think I'm just going to push them off and say that I'm not worried about getting them done today just because I was doing something else Dulcimer related. What I am going to do is work on a little bit of what my teacher and I talked about, putting some flourishes into Starve the County Down. And then I'm going to spend a little bit of time on How Great Thou Art, and I'm not going to worry about working on the Wren today. The Wren is a song that I have learned already, I have recorded, and I'm pretty sure I even have it on YouTube already. But I haven't played it in forever, and it's totally out of my mind, which means that I need to relearn it from my recording. It shouldn't take me long to do it, but I'm just not really interested in working on, I guess you could call it new material right now. I kind of want to focus on what's already on my plate. And as you can tell from this video already, I have a lot on my plate. So the Ren is just gonna wait for another day. It's 4:15 now. You can tell that it's gotten a little bit dark. I've put on some lights just so that I can keep going comfortably. But it is time for one more break before I come back one more time to the Dulcimer before I say goodbye for the day. I'm almost to the end of my all-day practice marathon. I've got a little bit more to go. Truthfully, I am starting to feel like I am getting to the end of what I can productively do in one day. And I'm hoping that taking a short break now will help me get through that last little push that I need to move through what I've scheduled myself for the day. If I feel after this break that I'm still tired and I maybe can't get any more productivity out, I'm definitely going to say stop because, again, what I'm aiming for today is to use my time productively. So if I'm just pushing myself through, we're getting into that unproductive practice time, and that's a waste. I don't want to do that. So I'm off for a break one more time, and I will be back in a few minutes. I have a half an hour left of planned practice time, and in this time, I'm kind of giving myself permission to play through songs that I'm feeling 100% comfortable with, just to keep them up, keep myself feeling comfortable with them, and to kind of have a cool down. If I start feeling like I'm getting nothing out of this time and I just really want to stop, I'm going to let myself stop. I am tired, but I think I have a little bit more in me, and I think I might be able to push through to 5 o'clock. And then we'll talk a little bit about what I learned, because I feel like this wasn't supposed to be a learning experience, but it definitely became one. So we'll talk more about that after my half an hour. It is 4:45 now, just about. I didn't quite hit the 5 o'clock point that I was really hoping for, but you know what? I'm totally okay with that. I have played my hammer dulcimer for nearly 5 hours today. And I can say without a doubt that that is the most time I have ever spent with the instrument in one day, ever. I'm really proud of myself for the amount of work that I've put in. I think I've done a really good job today, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It wasn't an easy day. As I think I've said 100 times during this video so far, my apartment is really hot. And so it's been a little difficult to stay focused on the work in front of me, but for the most part, I did. By the time I got to each of the breaks that I had given myself, I definitely was ready for them. But I was also so focused, stuck on working on the dulcimer, it was hard for me to take that breathing time. I really was excited to get back to work. So earlier I mentioned that this whole experience of playing my dulcimer for 5 hours had turned into a learning experience. So what exactly did I learn? I think I've got two big takeaways from today's 5 hour marathon. I think the first thing that I learned was that my usual way of practicing, my coming and going from the dulcimer, is working for me. I think that hour-ish, sometimes more, sometimes less, is probably a really good amount of practice time for me. Maybe up to 2 hours would be good for me if I have time, obviously. I don't always have time to put 5 hours into practicing in a day. But the coming and going works because I come when I am excited and happy to play, and I can focus because I'm interested in what I'm doing. I'm happy that I did 5 hours today, but I think on the overall end of this experience, um, I I'm not sure if 5 hours was really necessary.
But it was definitely an experience. I've learned from it, and I'm happy that I did it. The second thing that I learned is about scheduling. So this is really the first time that I've sat down with a practice schedule. Like, I knew what I was going to do today. Usually I kind of just know what I want to practice when I sit down, and I kind of do what I would do in my 20-minute spurts, my half an hour spurts. And it tends to work. I have been spending clearly more time on each individual song that I'm practicing than I realized, because today there were songs that I put myself down for 20 minutes, even half an hour to practice, and they turned out to be not enough. I mentioned earlier today in this video that there was at least one time where I decided to just keep going. Like, I had hit the end of the time that I had allotted for myself for the piece that I was working on, but I wasn't ready to stop. So I kept going, and that felt good. Truthfully, there were definitely some more times where I could have kept going on one particular song, and I decided to move on anyways, just so I could get to the next piece of material that I was excited to move on to. So when I don't have a schedule, I can just take all the time that I need on each piece. How about those 3 goals that I have made for myself for today? So the first one that I gave myself was to expand my warm-up repertoire. I think I definitely met that goal. I didn't do quite as much as I expected to, again, because those time slots that I gave myself turned out to be not enough time. But I did start working on the exercise from Karen Alley's book, and I got a good grasp of the beginning of what that will look like, and I'm excited to keep moving forward with that exercise and try it using different chord progressions that she gives you in the book. Yes, I definitely met my first goal. My second goal that I gave myself was to finish up Greensleeves and get to the end of that piece. I did not meet this entire goal, but I got decently far. Like, I'm not upset that I didn't meet that goal. So the last goal that I need to talk about right here, at least, is the goal of polishing up songs. And I think out of the 3 goals that I gave myself today, this is probably the one that I feel like I didn't meet as much as I really, really would have liked. I practiced a number of songs that I feel like I'm like 95% there, almost ready to film, but not quite. And I thought that I'd be able to get more progress in than I did. And I think that comes down to, again, the fact that I just didn't schedule enough time for these particular songs because I didn't think I was going to need them, or need it, but it turned out I did. So again, comes back to, this was a learning experience. I am really proud of myself for practicing 5 hours straight. And as I go forward, I don't know if I'm going to do another 5 hours anytime soon, at least in one day. But I'm definitely going to take the things that I learned, and I'm going to use them as I go forward with my hammered dulcimer experience and journey. That is it for today. Thank you so much for watching the videos on my channel. I think this is probably going to turn into the longest video I have made to date. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And just in the past week now, I have started an Instagram for this YouTube channel. So I'm going to put the Instagram handle on the screen right here for you, and definitely check that out if you haven't found it already. So it is after 5 now, and I am ready to call it a day. So I'm going to say goodbye to you now, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, everybody.